All right. So, Matt, can you tell me a bit about your film, The House Was Always Empty?
For sure. This was a film I made for my experimental class, my last experimental class, kind of before I graduated. It was kind of my most proud project I did from film school, and it was a very personal film for me because the house itself, it's my grandmother's. It was a place that I've been around so many years since I was a kid. And I think, honestly, that's where my love for my whole aesthetic came from. I shoot a lot of creepy things, a lot of liminal spaces, a lot of abandoned places. It's kind of something that I'm very passionate about. And I think it honestly started with this house when I was a kid. Growing up, it's a creepy house. And honestly, if you're there, you especially notice it. And I always kind of wanted to capture it in a film to see so other people could experience this feeling I got from it. And I think this was kind of the crown jewel of what I was able to do with that.
Yeah.
So I was very excited to make it and then finally get people to see the house and so they can understand not that it's just a house, but there's a deeper connection to it.
You mentioned you like to make a lot of creepy-looking stuff. One of the things that myself and some of the other judges noticed was how liminal this was. Was this in any way inspired by Backrooms at all?
Well, the movie itself, no, because this was made before that film, but I've actually been following the whole Backroom story, not just Kane Parsons' version, but other interpretations of it as well, pretty much since it started back in 2020.
Wow.
So I think inspired maybe in some ways, sure, but also like just a liminal space aesthetic in general. I think Backrooms it's like one interpretation of it, but I remember during 2020 COVID lockdowns, I think that's especially when liminal space became so popular because you would go outside and it's empty. Everything's gone. And I think that's where people captured a lot of these photos. So I think that's where I kind of started to fall in love with this aesthetic. So Backrooms partially, but also just kind of the liminal space aesthetic in general was definitely a big inspiration for the film.
Why did you feel the need to make this film specifically?
Well, again, it was a very personal film for me, and I captured it because my grandmother did pass away right before the making of the film, and I thought this would be the right time to make a film about the house. I made a film before about the house, and that was called The Mystery of the Hollow Mansion. It was kind of like showing shots around the house, but kind of the mystery, almost like those mobile games where you're kind of picking for clues, look around to solve a mystery in a space. It's kind of like that, but it wasn't my proudest work. I feel like I was like, I feel like I could do something better with this house. I think I could get a better story, and I just couldn't really find it over the years. And then finally, it just kind of clicked to me when my grandmother passed away. I was like, you know what? Like this, I could take something from this. I find a lot of times too, it's very good when you can kind of take your pain and put it into a creative outlet. And I thought this was a very good chance to do it. And that's honestly just kind of when it clicked. And I had the opportunity because it was my experimental class in time for an experimental project. And I knew pretty much like I want to film in this house. And then so that was the right time to do it.
I think what really stood out to me about this film is it quite literally doesn't say anything throughout the whole film. Like, there's no voiceover narration or anything. It's just piano and images. And towards the end of it, I started feeling very emotional. And I couldn't quite put my finger on why, but it was like I was picturing all the memories that had happened in this house, even though I myself have no connection to it. And I feel like you did an excellent job of portraying that feeling of lost memories without telling us what to feel at all. How did you go about crafting that feeling?
That's something I've always tried, the kind of show don't tell approach through most of my work. Even though more recently I've tried a little bit more narration in more of my urban exploration type of things, abandoned buildings, but I've always liked to keep it limited. And even before, I would always just try to show the images and let them speak for themselves. I give you like a little title, like little words at the start, so you kind of know the context of what's going on. But at that point, I think it's just best showing you, the rooms, the empty spaces. And I think, to me, that is more powerful than what any words could say. It's kind of like the old classic trope, what a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And it applies like that. for film as well. And I've never liked making my films super loud. I've always kind of liked a more quiet approach and to kind of try to not necessarily like terrify you or anything, but just kind of unsettle you, make you feel a little bit off. Because when you look at these rooms, there is something off, right? Whether it's the absence of people or just the weird layout of certain, something's a little bit off, and I just kind of wanted to do that visually, and I've always done that. So I thought this film was another great outlet to do so.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying about, the way you tell your stories, by not giving us a narrative, people can either relate or not relate to a narrative. But having it be completely open-ended, it's a completely unique experience for everyone who watches it, and it'll trigger different memories and different feelings for everyone else because of its lack of narrative. And I think that's done really, really well.
Thank you. Yeah, well, that's definitely a goal of it. I always like the idea that people could watch something I make, and then everyone can take away something a little bit different.
Yeah.
I never like to spoon-feed my audience to tell them what to feel. I want them to kind of take away their own opinions. And because at the end of the day, this might not be, this is my grandma's house. This isn't yours. This isn't anyone watching. But I think we can all kind of relate to feeling comfort and a connection to places that we spent so much time in as youth. And then kind of, as time goes on, we have to say goodbye to those places. And I think we can all relate to the house in the film, even if it's a place that none of you have ever been to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's very true. You mentioned this was a very personal project for you. What was yours and your family's reaction to seeing this finished product for the first time?
Well, for me, you put a lot of work when you're filming a project. So when it finally comes together, especially when it comes together in the vision that you wanted, because before I had I had shot lists, of course, and I had just pages and documents of how is I going to make this film, how is it going to look, how is it going to sound, how is it going to feel, and obviously, you kind of have a bit of self-doubt when we're creatives making those, but when it finally came together, kind of the way I wanted to, unlike the previous film I shot in the house a couple years before that, didn't really. I was very satisfied, and I felt like it was a good storybook closure to the house in my life to make it a creative project.
Yeah.
As for my family, they enjoyed the film a lot. My mom especially, as she definitely really likes it. And my parents are coming to the festival, so they're gonna see it again, which is exciting. Yeah, I told them instantly we're going, and she's like, awesome, great news. She was so excited. But yeah, my family and my aunt and uncle, when they all saw it, they all. I think it struck them in a way, which I kind of wanted them, I wanted them to feel, because again, for other people, of course, it's important, but this is personal, not just for me, but it's very personal for my family too. And I thought this would also be a great outlet for them to see the house as well. So it was pretty exciting.
I'm sure that must have been a really cool experience watching that with them. The music in the film is very powerful as well, and I was wondering what your thought process was like with the songs that you chose, because there was 2001: A Space Odyssey, that
Yeah.
How did you land on those songs?
Okay, well, first of all, when you're making a film, you got to sometimes think practicality. Now, I'm not rich, so copyright very much is something you have to keep in mind. So I was like, okay, I do want to play on that piano, and that piano specifically. That was something I actually used to play on for years, that piano, but it's totally out of tune. And has keys broken and missing, or ones that don't work. And I thought, wow, that would be perfect to play in the film. Why not have it out of tune? Why not have it intentionally kind of sound very faded? It was very fitting for the house. But yeah, so first of all, copyright, I wanted to pick songs that were older, that were more copyright free. But also I wanted to think back to my grandmother. Now, she liked Frédéric Chopin and a lot of his music. Well, a very popular song of his was the one I played in the film. So I learned to play that on piano. But I didn't really feel like it was a good enough song to close. I feel like it had the tone, but I was like, it's not a good closer. And I was let me think. Well, another song I do know on piano is Richard Strauss's, I can't remember the name of the song, oh my God, on top of my head, but it is played in 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's where it was popularized.
Yeah.
And I was like, the great thing about that song is that it feels almost like a beginning, but it also feels like an end. And it kind of has both. And the film 2001 uses that. And I thought, well, in a way, this film, we know it's kind of like an end of an era type of film, but we can also realize it's also a new beginning type of film. And you'll see a few shots in there that kind of imply that as one thing ends, another begins. So I thought music was good for a closer and an opener, and of course also very dramatic, right? So I could really just slam on those keys,
Yeah.
and it would just kind of feel very satisfying to end that way.
So is you playing the piano in the film?
Yeah, no, there's no stunt double or anything. That's me.
Killed
Yeah,
it.
that's me. Yeah.
And you mentioned you grew up playing that piano in that house. Have you been playing piano your whole life?
Not as much as you think. Like I've never taken piano lessons or anything. I'm just kind of self-taught. I just looked on YouTube for tutorials, and that's basically how I've learned. And it was only something I started like maybe the end of high school. So I was maybe like 18 started. So it wasn't something I've been doing my whole life or anything.
Wow.
But I remember as a kid going up to that piano, we kind of played something silly, right? Like you just kind of move your knuckles down, press a couple, like very, very simple. So I wouldn't call it much of piano playing. But I actually got a little more serious about learning to play songs. I'd also practice when I would visit there, I'd practice on that piano. And kind of the out-of-tune thing, when you're first playing, you're like, wow, it sounds awful. But then for this film, I was like, no, this is perfect. I'm so glad that this thing is totally out of tune.
Yeah, it was perfect. It really fit the vibe. What were some of the biggest challenges of creating this film?
I think there's always challenges creating films. I think one of them was a little bit of self-doubt, because I feel like I filmed in there before, and I was like, I need to capture the vibe of this place, and it's so hard to do so. And that was definitely a challenge in figuring out, because before I knew, okay, we'll get shots of the house. I knew that was always like in the plan. But I didn't have the idea of the piano. I was like, how am I going to tell a story without saying anything? And then I kind of thought the piano idea, just kind of letting the music fade it out. But coming up with that was definitely a challenge. I think also a challenge is there's a lot of different locations in that house that can make great shots, and figuring out which ones to use is definitely tough, and what angles you want to get, because you don't want to like invade privacy on certain shots. Like I show like photos in the film you see as well, so if I had to like dig up those photos and find, and like I obviously get the proof that it's okay to show, right? Like which like luckily my family, they're very relaxed about it. They were very nice about letting me use the house, and they gave me a whole day alone in there. And also playing piano, like it's one thing you're practicing, it's one thing when you put a camera up there. And remember, I'm not like a super experienced piano player, so for me I was like, oh my god, this is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So I had to do quite a few takes of it, but it was not too bad. But it's also kind of almost acting in a way. When I was playing the piano, I was very passionately hitting the keys, but I also obviously want to hit the right keys and all too. So just kind of battling, your inner demons as you're doing it a little bit. But I was able to like overcome those, and I think I was pretty happy with the way I was able to do so.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, even just talking to a camera is so much harder, and then playing a piano when you're not that familiar with it. So
hard.
I'm sure it took a minute for sure. What was you think the most rewarding part of making the film?
Just to have a film of this house that I think really captured the essence and importance of the house to me and my family. Just having that in a film that you can sit down and watch, to me, was really special.
Yeah.
I always when filmmakers, I'm a filmmaker, photographer, we always kind of have this desire, we have to capture things, right? We always have to capture it, but you want to do it right, and just having that on record, and like being able to show people this, so it's not just something, because I've always told people like, oh, I really like my grandma's, it's so creepy, but actually, me not being able to say anything, just watch this, right? So feeling people can understand the connection, and I have a lot of connection to places, like always kind of have, so it's just kind of very creepy, but yet comforting places like that, and I think that's a very hard thing to put into words.
Yes, definitely.
And emotions are a very hard thing to put into words, right? Loss is a very tough thing to put into words. So me being able to create a film that kind of can speak almost for me, so I don't have to say everything, that was probably the most rewarding aspect of making the film.
Because the way in which you executed it was very well done. So I could see how sitting back and watching that would be like, I'm glad I have this. And not many people get to say that they have that. Like, a very well-documented record of a place that they grew up in. And if viewers watch the film, what's one thing that you would want to leave them with or think about as they watch it?
I just want them to think about, honestly, their own family and not just houses, but places we've inhabited throughout our life.
Mm-hmm.
And, you don't have to look back in like pity. You don't have to look back in sadness, but to just just kind of value our time together with people, value memories. I just think that's important, right? And because when you're living them, you don't think about them that much, right? And then when it's only when it's gone, it kind of hits, right? Which I think the film also tries to do. You see when all of the emptiness of the house reflects, like, well, it has this feeling, this very cold feeling, like, it's still the same place, but it's missing something.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just to cherish lives, think about our own family, think about our own friends, and just, value things the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just be like too savvy. Don't get
No.
that deep and savvy, but
that's what the film made me feel. It made me want to live in the moment more. Because
that's great.
One day, every place I've inhabited is going to be empty,
mm-hmm.
and I kind of I want to enjoy them while I'm in them. And I think your film caused me to think that. So I think it did its job.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. There we go. Yeah, so this is a photo series I did of the house. I've been doing a lot of photo series now, as also being a photographer. So I think stills are also very impactful, just like film. That's also why I go for a lot of still shots in my films. Sometimes like no camera movement can be just as powerful, if not more, than shots with a lot of camera movement. But anyway, so this was a photo series I did with the title "You'll Never Guess." The house is always empty. Same title. But now it's basically with photos. So. It's kind of trying to show the essence. Same thing, right? It's just trying to show the essence of the house, the vibe of it. This is a shot that's kind of very inspired by the Overlook Hotel in The Shining.
I was just thinking
which is an absolute huge inspiration for the film. And yeah, I caught this. Like, this is obviously during winter. I shot the film during spring, so you don't have the snow.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I gotta capture it also during the winter because this thing is even creepier in the winter. So. Yeah.
You keep using the word creepy. I didn't find the film creepy. I found it very comforting.
There you go. See, different interpretations, right? Yeah, because it's funny because I will shoot a lot of photography and I'll show people a shot and I'll be like, look at this, isn't it cool? And they'll be like, oh, that creeps me out. I'm like, I find it comforting.
Yeah.
I find it really comforting. I love it. Yeah, it's funny how people see different things.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people look at this, like they find this place creepy. I find it comforting, but I like to have like a nice blend. This right here, this is in the kitchen, and I was trying to use a lot of negative space. You see some empty chairs again. This is the dining room. I don't remember. I think you do see this in the film.
Very nice.
It's a little different because I took these a little bit after this film was shot, so there's been some renovations in the house. So a little bit of change also you do see over time.
Who's living in the place now?
It's my aunt and uncle currently living in it. And I think this shot captures a lot of the essence.
Yeah.
You see that grandfather clock right there?
Yeah.
You see that grandfather clock? You know the sound those things make? Really creepy. Imagine that echoing throughout this like empty house.
Is it still running?
I believe it is. I'm pretty sure it is, unless they just haven't changed the batteries in a while. Yeah. I love that sound. It's like one of my favorite sounds. And I find it creepy, but I love that sound.
That would creep me out.
Yeah.
Even in a comforting space, that would creep me out.
Yeah, especially if you're there at night, I always found this picture, or this not picture, but this banner in the living room absolutely fascinating. It's very big, but I remember as being a kid, little pillars, it's right there to the left and right, they always kind of looked like faces to me. I thought this was always a really uncanny.
Oh, yeah.
It always kind of unsettled me as like a kid when I looked at them. It's like it just looked like two faces kind of staring off in the distance.
At my grandmother's house, she used to have a life-size statue of Jesus.
Yeah.
And she kept it in a dark corner. She had a pool table down there. And the pool cues were like right in front of the Jesus there. And I was horrified. Like, I had to ask someone else to go grab the pool cues for me because I didn't want to go
because he's staring at you. Yes.
It's
really uncanny, isn't it?
Yeah.
This was just one of the rooms.
Very nice.
You do see that in the film. And this is up.
This blue floor, I love this.
It's actually like a green. It's actually a green. I would say more of a green. Yeah, it's a carpet. It's to me, like, this is embedded in my brain. I've had dreams where there's random places in the carpet is like this greenish. And I love the color though. You can see. You'll see it no more in the next photo I'll show you. But yeah, we have the banister, and the banister looks down in the living room. So you get a little bit of vertigo when you look down. And I'm not a big fan of heights, so Remember, that would kind of freak me out as a kid. Here's another good look at that
love
carpet,
it.
though. This is kind of the
Yeah.
iconic shot of the film.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to get this. I got to get a photo of this. And again, using that negative space. And it's funny because you see this rocking chair. I've never seen my grandmother sit on that rocking chair, you know? She just, never used it. And it's almost like that thing has always been never used. It's always been abandoned. But
I think
yeah.
I have the exact same rocking chair at my cottage.
There you-
that
see?
also no one has ever sat in before.
I swear they're just like, it's honestly kids who sit in them more. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is fun. But
Yeah.
like the adults never sit in them. It's like they're almost for display.
They just spawn in any old
And then
house.
they always look unsettling.
Yeah.
They'd always look off.
No,
Yeah.
I swear we have the exact same one.
Yeah. Well, it's a fun thing to do is that when no one's looking, just like pull it down, let it go, just walk away, and then they see that they walk in, the rocking chair is moving on its own. So that's always a fun thing to do. But yeah, that's kind of the iconic shot of the film.
Mhm.
I've been trying to use. So again, that green carpet, embedded in my brain.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it's gonna be embedded in your brain too. And then
Oh, what a shot.
the billiard room. Again, there's a shot like this in the film as well. So I got to get a picture of it as well. This room, this is a creepy room because you have these two doors here, and you open them, and it literally goes into this pitch black, dark like hallway, where it's just like tools and stuff that no one really goes into very often. So you always just kind of want to keep that door closed when you're
Yeah.
playing because it always feels like you're kind of being watched in there.
And I feel like the contrast, what stood out to me in the photo is how evenly lit everything is. Like, this
Yeah.
room is just like, it's almost like there's no shadow in there. And then it's
Yeah.
just the void back there. So I feel like that would be even more of
Exactly.
a contrast in real life.
It is true. This light absolutely just, which is good if you're playing pool, right? And I've played pool there a few times, and it's nice to have that light. Yeah, it actually makes that void in the back just that more off,
Mhm.
right? And again, it's one of those places you gotta be there to experience it sometimes. But it's like if you turn this way, you're like, ooh, you feel like someone's looking behind you. So. And then that was just one outside. Again, we have snow in this one.
Yeah.
Don't have snow in the film, but when it snows there, it sometimes really snows. So it kind of feels like you're trapped a little bit. Then we're back in the kitchen. I mentioned The Shining. I like to place that book right on the table, right on the table. And then there's just a long shot from the outside, from the backyard.
That's so nice.
Always good to capture that.
Where is it?
It's in Mono, Ontario, right outside of Orangeville.
Okay.
So you basically just drive down this winding road for a little bit, and then like there's trees everywhere. It's nice. It's very
Again,
scenic.
The Shining.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what's funny is, the first time I watched The Shining, and that's the photos right there. But I'll do a little more talking for you. The first time I watched The Shining, I think I was probably still in high school. But when I watched that film, it resonated with me so much, and I couldn't pinpoint why at first. And then it took me a minute. I was like, wait, this reminds me of my grandmother's house. And I told you, like, as a kid, I always loved the vibe in her house. So when I watched that film, I was like mesmerized. I was like, oh my God. I know this is a hotel, and obviously it looks different in a lot of ways, but the atmosphere is very similar. And even like going down the winding road, like literally when I drive there, I will have the Shining theme playing like in my head as I'm driving down the road and then pulling up to this thing on the hill. So definitely a big inspiration for the film. I tried to capture that there.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys want to see Matt's film, The House Was Always Empty, it's screening September 24th, Cineplex Cinemas, Oakville and VIP at CrowdPicks Film Fest. Get your tickets.
What he said. See you there.